It starts with a glass of water, just one extra glass before bed. You think nothing of it. It is summer. It is hot. Or maybe you just had a salty dinner. You drink it. You go to sleep. But then at 2 a.m. your eyes snap open. You have to use the bathroom. Again. This is the third time this week. You stumble to the bathroom, half asleep, relieve yourself, and go back to bed. But as you lie there, you realize something strange. Your mouth is dry. It feels like you have been chewing on cotton balls. Your tongue feels like sandpaper, so you go to the kitchen. You drink another glass of water. It tastes like the best thing you have ever had. You tell yourself it is just aging. You tell yourself it is just the dry air. You tell yourself everything is fine. But inside your body, a catastrophic chemical reaction is taking place. Your blood is changing. It is no longer the free-flowing river of life that carries oxygen to your muscles. It is turning into syrup. It is thick. It is sticky. And it is filled with millions of microscopic shards of glass that are slowly, silently, slicing open the inside of your eyes, your kidneys, and the nerves in your feet. You are not just thirsty, you are drowning in sugar. This is the reality of diabetes. It is the silent pandemic. It kills more people every year than HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria combined. Yet we treat it casually. We make jokes about eating too much cake. We talk about having a touch of sugar. We do not talk about the man who wakes up blind because the blood vessels in his retina exploded overnight. We do not talk about the woman who goes in for a pedicure and comes out with a toe infection that eventually takes her leg. We do not talk about the terrifying smell of nail polish remover on the breath of a child who is going into a diabetic coma. Today, we are going to peel back the skin and look at the biological horror story of uncontrolled blood sugar. We are going to look at the lie of prediabetes. We are going to explore why your doctor might be wrong about fruit. And we are going to show you exactly what happens to a human body when it decides that it can no longer handle the sweetness of life. If you value your limbs, your sight, and your future, please hit that subscribe button right now. You need to hear this, because the symptoms we are about to describe are likely happening to someone you love right now, and they have no idea that the clock is ticking. To understand the damage, you have to understand the mechanic. Imagine your bloodstream is a highway. The cars are the blood cells carrying oxygen. The sugar, or glucose, is the fuel. Every cell in your body needs this fuel to survive. But the fuel cannot just walk into the cell. It needs a key. That key is a hormone called insulin. When you eat a bagel or a bowl of rice or a candy bar, your digestion turns it into glucose. The glucose floods the highway. Your pancreas, an organ the size of a hand sitting behind your stomach, notices this. It releases insulin. The insulin travels to the cells, unlocks the door, and shoves the sugar inside. The highway clears. The traffic moves. You feel energetic. But what happens when you flood the highway with sugar every single day for 10 years? What happens when you eat breakfast, then a snack, then lunch, then a sugary coffee, then dinner, then a late-night treat? Your cells get full, they are stuffed. They shout at the insulin, "No more, we are full." They change the locks on the doors. This is called insulin resistance. Now the insulin cannot open the door. The sugar cannot get in. So where does it go? It stays on the highway. It stays in your blood. This is where the nightmare begins. Sugar in high concentrations is toxic. It is corrosive. It is inflammatory. It is sticky. The first casualty is the plumbing, the blood vessels. Imagine pouring thick, sticky maple syrup through a garden hose. Now imagine trying to pump it at high pressure. The heart has to work harder. The pressure builds. But the real damage happens at the molecular level. The sugar molecules bind to proteins in your blood. This process is called glycation. Think of it like caramelizing an onion in a pan. The sugar heats up and turns brown and sticky. This is essentially what is happening to your tissues. You are slowly being caramelized from the inside out. These sticky sugar-coated proteins are like jagged rocks. As they flow through your delicate capillaries, they scratch the walls. They cause micro-tears. Your body tries to fix these tears with cholesterol. This creates plaque. The plaque hardens. The vessel narrows. Now let us look at the specific targets, because diabetes is a sniper. It aims for the parts of you that you need the most. First, the eyes. Diabetic retinopathy. The retina is the screen at the back of your eye that captures light. It is fed by tiny, microscopic blood vessels. When your blood turns to syrup, these tiny vessels get blocked. They starve. The eye panics. It tries to grow new blood vessels to get oxygen, but these new vessels are weak. They are hastily built. They are fragile. One day you sneeze, or you bend over to tie your shoe, the pressure spikes. Pop. One of these weak vessels bursts. It bleeds into the vitreous fluid of your eye. You might see floaters, black spots dancing in your vision. You think it is dust. It is not dust. It is drops of your own blood floating inside your eyeball. If you ignore this, the bleeding gets worse. Scar tissue forms. The scar tissue contracts. It pulls on the retina. It peels the retina off the back of your eye like wallpaper peeling off a damp wall. Retinal detachment. The curtain falls, permanent blindness, and the terrifying part. You can have 20/20 vision right up until the day the vessel bursts. There is no pain. There is no warning, just the sudden darkness. Second, the kidneys. Your kidneys are your filters. They are made of millions of tiny clusters of blood vessels called glomeruli. They clean your blood 24 hours a day. When you force sugar syrup blood through these delicate filters, the pressure destroys them. The filters get holes in them. They start leaking things they should be keeping. The first sign is bubbles in your urine. Not just clear bubbles that pop instantly, but foam. Foam like beer head. Foam that stays there. This is protein. Your kidneys are leaking albumin. You are literally peeing away your muscles and your strength. If you ignore the foam, the damage continues. The filters scar over. They stop working. The toxins in your blood stop leaving your body. Ammonia builds up. You start to taste metal in your mouth. You feel nauseous. You get itchy all over because your sweat contains toxins that should have been in your urine. End-stage renal disease. Your kidneys die. Now you are tethered to a machine. 3 days a week for 4 hours a day, you have to go to a clinic and have your blood pumped out of your body, cleaned and pumped back in. It is a half-life, and it is entirely preventable. Third, the nerves. This is the most painful chapter of the story, neuropathy. Nerves need blood flow to survive. The nerves in your feet are the furthest away from your heart. They rely on the longest, thinnest supply lines. When diabetes destroys those supply lines, the nerves begin to suffocate. They die. But nerves do not die quietly. They scream. It starts as a tingle, pins and needles, like your foot is asleep. Then it turns into burning. Patients describe it as walking on hot coals, or walking on broken glass, or having invisible ants biting their ankles. It hurts at night. The weight of a simple bedsheet on your toes feels like a heavy brick. You kick the covers off. You cannot sleep. But then the screaming stops. The pain goes away. And this is infinitely worse than the pain. Numbness. Dead nerves feel nothing. You step on a tack in the carpet. You do not feel it. The tack stays there. You put your sock on. You put your shoe on. You walk around all day with a piece of metal grinding into your flesh. Bacteria enter the wound. They love the sugar in your blood. It is a buffet for them. The infection spreads. It eats the tissue. It eats the bone. This is osteomyelitis. You take your sock off at night and you smell something rotten. You look at your foot. It is black, gangrene. You go to the hospital. The doctor looks at it. He shakes his head. He says the words that end life as you know it. We have to take the foot. If they do not take the foot, the infection will go to the blood. Sepsis. It will kill you in hours, so you lose the foot. But the diabetes is still there. 5 years later, you lose the other foot, then the leg below the knee. It is a slow, piecemeal dismantling of the human body. We have to talk about the symptoms you are ignoring right now. We talked about the thirst and the urination, but what about the hunger? Polyphagia, you eat a huge meal. 20 minutes later, you are starving. You are hunting for snacks. Why? Because even though your blood is full of sugar, your cells are starving. The doors are locked. The insulin resistance is blocking the fuel. Your brain thinks you are famished. It screams at you to eat more. You eat more. The sugar piles up higher. It is a vicious cycle of starvation amidst plenty. What about the skin? Have you noticed dark, velvety patches on your neck, or in your armpits, or on your knuckles? It looks like dirt, but you cannot scrub it off. This is acanthosis nigricans. It is a sign that you have way too much insulin in your blood. The insulin is causing your skin cells to reproduce too fast. It is a visible, outward sign that your pancreas is screaming for help. What about the mood? You get hangry. If you miss a meal, you shake, you sweat, you snap at your spouse. You feel like you are going to pass out. This is reactive hypoglycemia. Your blood sugar spikes so high after a meal that your pancreas panics and dumps a massive load of insulin. This crashes your sugar too low, too fast. You are on a roller coaster, up and down, high and low. Your brain hates this. It causes anxiety. It causes depression. And speaking of the brain, we need to talk about type 3 diabetes. This is a new term researchers are using for Alzheimer's disease. They are finding that the same insulin resistance that destroys the body also destroys the brain. The brain runs on glucose. If the brain cells become insulin resistant, they cannot get fuel. They starve, they shrink, they die. Memory loss, confusion, brain fog, that feeling where you walk into a room and forget why you are there. That might not be aging. That might be your brain struggling to find the energy to form a memory. But there is a condition even more acute, more terrifying than the slow rot. It is called DKA, Diabetic Ketoacidosis. This usually happens to type 1 diabetics, but it can happen to type 2s who are under extreme stress or sickness. Your cells are starving, they have zero sugar, so the body hits the panic button. It starts burning fat for fuel, fast, too fast. When you burn fat rapidly, you produce a byproduct called ketones. In small amounts, ketones are fine. In massive amounts, they are acid. Your blood turns acidic. Your body tries to dump the acid. You start breathing fast and deep. This is called Kussmaul breathing. You are trying to exhale the acid as carbon dioxide. Your breath smells fruity, like nail polish remover or pear drops. You vomit, you become confused. You fall into a coma. If you are not treated with fluids and insulin immediately, your organs shut down. You die. This is why ignoring the early signs is fatal. You think you are fine, and then one day you get the flu, your body stress spikes, and you go into DKA. So why do we ignore it? Because of the word prediabetes. Doctors use this word to try to soften the blow. They say, oh, your sugar is a little high. You are prediabetic. Watch what you eat. This is the most dangerous phrase in medicine. There is no such thing as pre-pregnant. You are either pregnant or you are not. If you have prediabetes, you already have the disease. You already have insulin resistance. The damage to your blood vessels has already started. The clock is already ticking. By the time you are diagnosed with full-blown type 2 diabetes, you may have lost 50% of your beta cell function in your pancreas. 50% of your ability to make insulin is gone forever. We ignore it because it doesn't hurt. High cholesterol doesn't hurt. High sugar doesn't hurt, not at first. It is a silent assassin. It waits until the damage is irreversible before it shows its face. So how do we stop it? How do we turn off the faucet of syrup? We have to challenge the conventional wisdom. For 40 years, we were told to eat low fat and high carbs. We were told to eat 6 small meals a day to keep our metabolism burning. This advice has been a disaster. Every time you eat, you spike insulin. If you eat 6 times a day, your insulin never goes down. You are keeping the door locked. To fix the problem, you need to lower the insulin. You need to let the engine cool down. This means intermittent fasting, giving your body a break. If you stop eating at 7 p.m. and do not eat until 11 a.m. the next day, you give your pancreas 16 hours of rest. The insulin levels drop. The cells become sensitive again. The doors unlock. It means understanding that not all calories are equal. 100 calories of broccoli is not the same as 100 calories of bread. The broccoli comes with fiber. Fiber creates a mesh in your intestines. It slows down the absorption of sugar. It flattens the curve. The bread, even whole wheat bread, turns to glucose in your blood faster than a spoonful of table sugar. It is a bomb. We have to talk about fruit. We are told fruit is healthy, and it is in nature. But modern fruit is not natural. We have bred our apples and grapes to be massive candy bombs. They are full of fructose. Fructose is a unique poison. It is not metabolized by most of your body cells. It goes straight to the liver. The liver turns fructose into fat. This leads to fatty liver disease. A fatty liver is an insulin-resistant liver. It is the engine of diabetes. If you are diabetic or pre-diabetic, pounding fruit smoothies is not helping you. It is pouring gas on the fire. Stick to berries. Stick to low-sugar fruits. We have to talk about muscle. Your muscles are your glucose sinks. They soak up the sugar from your blood. The more muscle you have, the more room you have to store sugar safely. But as we age, we lose muscle, sarcopenia. If you lose your muscle, you lose your storage tank. The sugar has nowhere to go but the blood. This is why resistance training, lifting weights, is actually more effective for diabetes management than just walking. You need to build the tank. But the biggest change is mental. You have to stop looking at food as entertainment and start looking at it as information. Every bite of food sends a signal to your hormones. A donut sends a signal, store fat, spike inflammation, lock the doors. A steak and salad sends a signal, build muscle, repair tissue, burn energy. You have to decide which signal you want to send. The tragedy of diabetes is that it is almost entirely a lifestyle disease. Type 2 diabetes is not a virus you catch. It is a response to an environment. We live in a food swamp. We are surrounded by hyperpalatable, ultra-processed, calorie-dense, nutrient-poor food-like substances designed by engineers to be addictive. They hit the bliss point in your brain. They light up the same dopamine receptors as cocaine. Fighting this addiction is hard. It is one of the hardest things a human can do. But look at the alternative. Look at the dialysis clinic. Look at the amputation ward. Look at the darkness of the blind. Is the momentary pleasure of a cookie worth the 30 years of suffering? Is the convenience of fast food worth the agony of nerve pain that keeps you awake every single night? The body is forgiving. It is incredibly resilient. If you catch this early, you can reverse it. You can put it into remission. You can lower your A1C. You can get off the metformin. You can save your feet. But you have to stop ignoring the signs. That thirst is not just thirst, it is a siren. That blurriness in your eyes is not just age, it is a warning shot. That tingling in your toes is not just cold, it is a scream for help. Your body is talking to you, it is begging you to change. Listen to it. Do not be the statistic. Do not be the person who says, "I wish I had known." You know now. The glass of water is in your hand. The choice is yours. I want to know in the comments below, have you noticed any of these silent symptoms in yourself or a family member? The dark skin patches, the nighttime urination, the blurry vision. Let us start a conversation. Let us break the silence. If this video scared you, good. Use that fear. Let it be the fuel that drives you to make a change today. If this video opened your eyes to the biological reality of sugar, please hit that like button. It helps us get this life-saving information to the millions of people who are walking around with a ticking time bomb in their blood. And subscribe. We are going to continue deep diving into the hidden mechanics of your health, exposing the myths, and giving you the tools to protect your body from the modern world. Put down the sugar, pick up the weights, and take back your life. Stay strong, stay aware, and watch your numbers.